Hope Hicks, the former Trump campaign spokeswoman and White House communications director, who was crying at one point, testified at the hush money trial that the Wall Street Journal emailed her days before the 26th election to ask about ex-Playboy model Karen McDougal, represented by lawyer Keith Davidson, and her claim of an affair with Donald Trump, which he denies. Hicks called Trump his fixer, that is, Michael Cohen, who sort of feigned like he didn't know what I was talking about. She called Trump pal David Pecker, head of the National Enquirer's parent company, who said it was all very legitimate because McDougal was being paid for cover shoots and fitness columns. Pecker testifying last week that the $130,000 was actually to buy her silence. The pundits sharply split over DA Alvin Bragg's case and the judge finding Trump $9,000 for gag order violations, even raising the specter of jail.
Davidson was very clear that the payments to the Playboy model Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels were made to influence the election.
Hope Hicks didn't lay a finger on Donald Trump. So we're in day 11 with the 9th witness, and nobody has touched Donald Trump.
I would like to note that if Joe Biden were actually the mastermind behind all of these trials, then I think he would have actually not picked this one to be the first one.
Then came this threat. Jail may be a necessary punishment. Yeah, this is their sick fantasy. Almost like Judge Merchan trying to, I don't know, it's almost like he's trying out for a future spot on Morning Joe.
Joining us now from New York, Tomi Lahren, Fox News contributor and host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on OutKick. And here with me, Juan Williams, the Fox News political analyst. Tomi, Hope Hicks, who I met when she was the only employee of the nascent Trump campaign, testified that both Donald Trump and Michael Cohen helped shape her responses to that Wall Street Journal inquiry. Trump tweeted that Karen McDougal was making false and extortionate accusations, but in fact, the inquirer did pay her off, and it was $150,000. He also had Hope deny the Stormy affair. Was any of this hurting Donald Trump?
No, not at all. And I think the Hope Hicks testimony actually is going to help the former president a lot. She comes across very likable. Her being emotional on the stand, again, I think is going to lend to her credibility. Obviously very close to Trump for so many years. So I think that her testimony only helped the former president. And the way that the media is covering this, to me, just shows what a shoddy case this has been from the get-go. I mean, a crime we're still looking to find here. But even when the liberal pundits and all the other networks have to say, oh boy, this isn't going so well for the prosecution and Donald Trump is looking pretty untouched here, well, I think that that lends itself to the entire witch hunt claim that Donald Trump has made time and time again.
Okay.
When the liberal media can't find a crime, there might not be a crime.
Well, let me put up a text that Hope Hicks sent to Michael Cohen about the Access Hollywood tape. It will get played because the media is the worst. But he, Trump, should just ignore and blow past it. And when that tape was talked about at the trial, Juan, she said her reaction, let's get the tape, and deny, which turned out not to be possible.
It was not to be true. I mean, so what she said basically was that, yes, you know, she lied to the Wall Street Journal, but that's what she was told to do by Donald Trump. So, you know, to my mind, we have two theaters here, Howie. You have a theater in the courtroom of not only the jurors, but the American press corps that's in the courtroom. You remember, you cannot televise, the case cannot be televised.
On these media
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's two groups there. And then you have people outside who are relying on that American media to understand what's going on in the Donald Trump case. I think a lot of people say, oh my God, it's like rain on the roof. It just keeps coming and coming every day. But some things do stand out because it's lurid. It involves sex and lies and all that. And part of that, I think, that is not so great is the idea that Hope Hicks got emotional. Terry clearly could not look Donald Trump straight in the face because she still likes Donald Trump, apparently.
Yeah, she didn't want to be there. No. And that may add to her credibility.
And then she says, clearly, I had to lie for Donald Trump.
Now, there's a phone call that was played, surreptitiously recorded by Michael Cohen, who, of course, has been to jail and disbarred, between Cohen and Trump about this very question about money for Karen McDougal. This is old. We knew what it was said, but we've never heard it. Let's roll it.
And I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
Don't pay for cash.
No. I got... No.
So David there is David Pecker, then the CEO of the National Enquirer's parent company. Alan is Alan Weisselberg, the since convicted CFO of the Trump Organization. Right. So hearing the two of them talk about this, Tommy, I don't know how much it proves, but it certainly sets the stage for the prosecution to argue that Trump knew about all this.
Yeah, if that's their smoking gun, I hope they have another smoking gun. Once again, this has come down to the morality of Donald Trump and the affairs that he may or may not have had, but it still doesn't go to the criminality of what Donald Trump did or what he knew. So if that's the smoking gun, they're going to have to come up with more than that. I think it makes Michael Cohen look far worse. Obviously a known liar, convicted liar, and somebody who also desperately wanted to be a part of the Trump administration. So I think, once again, as Judge Janine said the other day on the 5, none of this has really touched Donald Trump in a way that I think results in a conviction. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Michael Cohen, if that's their star witness, again, this seems to be falling apart before their very eyes.
Well, one thing that we've taken away from this trial is that nobody seemed to like dealing with Michael Cohen. And then after the election, he hadn't been repaid. He was later, for the $150,000 payment. And he told Keith Davidson, who was the lawyer for both Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, he told Davidson, that can you effing believe I'm not going to Washington after everything I've done for that effing guy? He wanted to get a job in the White House. But does any of this matter? And on cross-examination, by the way, Juan, I'm so excited about this. No, Trump's lawyer asked Davidson about digging up celebrity dirt on Hulk Hogan, on Lindsay Lohan, on Charlie Sheen, talking about extracting money, but essentially portraying him as a sleazebag. Does that work?
Well, the whole thing is rather
sleazy,
tawdry. I mean, these people are involved in this slimy business, and it really reveals what you see when you're walking through the supermarket and you see these tabloids. You know, the credibility is just not good. But what was telling is later on, Keith Davidson then sends a note to Dylan Howard, and he says, oh, this is after the election. Oh, my God, can you believe what we've done?
Dylan Howard being the editor of the National Enquirer.
And I mean, so these guys, none of these guys are what you would call highly credible. But to Tommy's point, the attacks you can imagine are going to be coming fast and furious when it comes to Michael Cohen.
Yeah,
and they already have started, and they're going to continue. The question is, okay, he's already a convicted liar, but is it the case that if you were on that jury, that you would think, oh, you know what? He paid this money himself without any instructions from Donald Trump, given what you've now heard on tape, as you just played it, Howie, with them talking about should this payment be in cash or not?
Right. Let me get this other point in for Tommy, because when the Wall Street Journal reported in 2018, Trump's already president, about what had happened with Stormy Daniels and so forth. With her lawyer's help, she denied it. She said, my involvement with Donald Trump was limited to a few public appearances. Rumors that I received hush money from Donald Trump are completely false. That was obviously a lie. She also said on Jimmy Kimmel's show that she had a signature, document, that had her signature, wasn't her signature. So doesn't that pretty seriously ding her credibility, Tommy?
There's a lot of individuals in this where their credibility has to be questioned. I mean, we're talking about playmates and we're talking about adult film stars, not to discredit the work that they have done or their professional endeavors, whatever those may be. But there is a lot of questions here to the credibility. Who's trying to get famous? Who's trying to ride the coattails of Donald Trump to get famous? Who's disgruntled? I mean, again, a lot of this going back to an NDA, which a lot of people have signed NDAs. A lot of people have settlements for things like this. Going back to where is the crime here? If you want to talk about Donald Trump maybe being not the best guy, we can have that discussion. But is he a criminal for it? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, remember that the alleged crime is having to do with falsified expense records for Michael Cohen. And just let me throw this in. There was, of course, the gag order. Judge Juan Merchan fining Trump $9,000 and making this reference. He's not going to send him to jail. That's ridiculous. But my favorite part of this whole story, this post from Donald Trump. Contrary to the fake news media, I don't fall asleep during the crooked DA's witch hunt. I simply close my beautiful blue eyes and listen intensely. So he got his point across on that. All right, after the break, why the media are rooting for the Democrats to save Speaker Johnson from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.